Before we begin, think about this. When people talk about the birth of the American stock market, almost everyone points to one place: Wall Street, New York, the New York Stock Exchange. It's become such a familiar story that most of us never stop to question it. But what if I told you that for a long time, Wall Street wasn't the center of American finance? What if the most powerful financial city in the United States wasn't New York at all? And what if one forgotten exchange helped shape the modern stock market, only to slowly disappear from the spotlight? This isn't just the story of an old building or a forgotten institution. It's the story of ambition, rivalry, political power, technological change, and one decision after another that quietly shifted the balance of financial history. Because once you start digging into the origins of American markets, you realize something surprising. There are chapters that almost nobody talks about anymore. Even many experienced investors have never heard how influential one exchange became before Wall Street took over. And that's where today's story begins. But here's what makes this even more fascinating. Later, we'll uncover the moment when New York stopped following Philadelphia and started replacing it. We'll also look at one technological breakthrough that changed everything, yet hardly anyone connects it to the fall of America's first financial capital. And by the end of this series, we'll answer a question that still matters today. Can a financial capital lose its dominance, even if everyone believes it's untouchable?
Because history suggests the answer isn't as obvious as it seems. So let's go back. Not to the skyscrapers of Manhattan, not to the ringing bell of the New York Stock Exchange, but to a city that for a brief moment looked like it would become the permanent financial heart of the United States, Philadelphia. Today, when people think of Philadelphia, they often picture American independence, the Liberty Bell, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. History classes remember it as America's political birthplace, but very few remember that it was also America's financial laboratory. And that's strange, because for decades, if you wanted to understand money, government finance, banking, or securities in the young United States, Philadelphia was where the action happened. At first, that sounds almost impossible. How could Wall Street have played second place? After all, New York eventually became the financial capital of not only America, but arguably the entire world. So when did that happen? Was New York always destined to win? Or did history simply take a different path than anyone expected? The answer is far more complicated than most people realize, and that's exactly why this story deserves another look.
To understand what happened, we first have to forget everything we assume about early America. When the United States declared independence, it wasn't the economic powerhouse we know today. It was fragile, deeply divided, heavily indebted. Its government barely functioned. Its currency was unreliable. Its future was uncertain. Winning independence had been difficult. Building a functioning economy would prove even harder. Imagine trying to create an entirely new country. Not just writing laws, not just electing leaders, but convincing people that your money has value, convincing investors that your government can repay its debts, convincing merchants that commerce can continue without collapsing into chaos. None of that was guaranteed. In fact, many Europeans believed the American experiment would fail. The new nation lacked experience. It lacked established financial institutions, and perhaps most importantly, it lacked trust.
Trust is one of the most valuable assets in any financial system. Without trust, people don't lend. Without lending, businesses don't grow. Without investment, economies stagnate. Today, we often focus on numbers, stock prices, interest rates, market capitalization. But behind every financial system is something much harder to measure: confidence. And in the 1790s, confidence was incredibly scarce. This is where things start getting interesting, because creating trust required something America had never built before: a functioning capital market. Not just banks, not just coins, an organized place where investors could buy and sell ownership, debt, and opportunity.